AITAH for insisting my husband cuts off his childhood friend who is in therapy over him and takes his time. So my husband grew up with a girl, we'll call her Jane. They dated briefly, but things didn't work out. They had a FWB situation for years. When him and I got married, we discussed his friendship with Jane. I didn't care if they remained friendly as long as she respected boundaries. A friend of ours was getting married. We'll call him Bob. My husband was worried about Jane not being invited to the wedding. He felt like she would be mad at him and feel left out if she wasn't invited since they all grew up together. I asked Bob about it. Bob tells me that Jane isn't coming because she is in therapy over my husband, and she couldn't handle seeing us together at the wedding. This is news to us. We had no idea that she was mad at my husband at all. We've been married 11 years, I tell my husband he shouldn't talk to Jane anymore. He needs to leave her alone so she can heal. He agrees but is hopeful they can repair their friendship later. The wedding comes and goes. Another event is planned with mutual friends and we are invited to this event. Jane is also invited. My husband is worried about seeing her as he doesn't want to cause her any upset. I tell him it'll probably be fine. At the event, Jane approaches my husband and asks if she can talk to him alone. My husband tells her anything she needs to say to him, she can say in front of me. She tells him that she is pissed at him for not reaching out to discuss her being in therapy over him and she is mad that he didn't try to talk her into going to Bob's wedding. He tells her that her therapy is none of his business and that it wasn't his job to talk her into going to Bob's wedding. Jane tells him, "It's your fault that I'm in therapy." He asks how it was his fault. She tells him, "Everything was going along fine and then you suddenly got married out of nowhere. Since you got married in Vegas, I figured it as a fluke." He says, "So you're in therapy because my marriage wasn't a fluke?" She says, "You hooked up with me for years but refused to commit, then suddenly you commit to someone else." He tells her, "We dated and you broke up with me because you didn't want a long-distance relationship and you didn't want to relocate to where I was. You knew there was no future for us, but you kept visiting me and hooking up with me anyways. How is it my fault that you lied about being cool with the situation when you weren't? I should be mad that you pretended to be my friend while secretly hoping my marriage would fail so you could get another chance with me. I think therapy is where you belong." I grabbed my husband's hand to signal him not to say anything else. Jane was clearly upset. She grabbed her things and left. My husband asked me if I thought he was too mean to her. I told him he wasn't. She was looking for attention but didn't get the attention she wanted. I told him it was time to cut her off completely and that they can't be friends anymore since she clearly wants to be more than his friend. I say you can't be friends with someone that has unrequited love. He thinks if therapy helps her, maybe they can be friends again later on. He thinks cutting her off while she's in therapy would be mean. I say it needs to be done. AITAH for insisting he cut off his childhood friend?